Hello everyone, and welcome to the Lunch Hour Sports Podcast. Here with your hosts, Jacob Smedley,
Sam Beth,
Justin Rehammer,
Peter Honorante,
and Nathan Romanot.
Our topics today include the MLB All-Star Game is right around the corner. Sam will give us the breakdown on the Midsummer Classic. Breaking news in the NFL. Baker Mayfield is finally heading to a new team. Justin will give us the very latest with crew reaction. And some changes in the college football landscape. We'll have the very latest on what that means for the rest of the NCAA college football. Now, here's Sam Betts. Sam, it's been a while, my friend. What's going on in Major League Baseball?
Well, Major League Baseball on July 19th, we have the MLB All-Star Game. This is kind of one of my favorite weekends. Well, not really weekends, right? It's coming in on Tuesday, but it's one of my favorite kind of like periods of the MLB season. You have the off season, you kind of have the little break there. You have a lot of festivities going around. You usually have the celebrity softball game. You have the futures game coming up, which I'm really excited for. I see a lot of young prospects kind of playing that game, but then we have the main event. We have the All-Star Game. This is where some of the best players in the MLB currently kind of take the stage with each other and go at it and kind of see who is the dominant side here, the NL or the AL. This year, for the managing sides, for the AL, we have Dusty Baker, and for the NL, we have Brian Snitker, as both of those teams were in the World Series in 2021. Those were the winning division sides. That's how that usually goes. Usually the AL wins, Jake. They won a lot in the
Pretty
past.
dominant recently.
Dominant. Yeah, they're pretty dominant as they've kind of destroyed the NL in the recent years. But it's always a new year and it's always something different. And today, all the rosters were revealed. We'll go over maybe some players who were snubbed, but I know one particularly. Me and Jake might be thinking on the same wavelength if we know. I think he might know.
Oh, okay. I think so. If we go through
we'll get there. I kind of want to highlight some of the top players, and it's kind of some interesting ones too. Obviously, you have guys like, for the AL starters, we have Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Jose Altuve, Rafael Devers. Those guys, I mean, they're the top players in the AL right now. They're there. They're probably predicted to be in those spots. But we have Alejandro Kirk from the Blue Jays as the starting catcher.
Phenomenal season so far. Phenomenal
Definitely.
Season.
And I mean, we saw him a little bit last season, kind of, and he was doing really well last season. This year, he's really taken off. I really like him. He's a young player. Didn't really get too much time, like I said, last season, but I really am excited to see how he does in this All-Star game, too. Shohei Ohtani kind of going in that DH role. I don't know if we'll see Ohtani pitch, maybe. Probably not, just because of how, like, how things go for him starting wise, like with the Angels and stuff like that. But obviously seeing him in the DH role is really nice. I don't know if he'll be in the home run derby either. That's another event that kind of comes up in that week. But we could see guys like,
I would probably say not for the home run derby because of his power, numbers, but definitely DH probably could pitch too. Definitely exciting to see him in there.
Who I would like to see in the home run derby and is also in the reserve spot for the American League is Julio Rodriguez of the Mariners. This rookie is on fire. He's he's probably in the top 10 rookies for the whole season, even at the top spot possibly for Rookie of the Year. He has a lot of power. He's very fast. I'd love to see him maybe swipe a couple bases and crush maybe a home run or two during this All-Star game. As we go into the reserves also for the American League, Jose Trevino for the Yankees, kind of Mr. Walk-Off here for the Yankees recently, has 2 or 3 walk-offs that has helped the Yankees win this season. I mean, I'm sure he'll get a couple at-bats. Usually for the reserves, they get 1 or 2 at-bats we've seen, but maybe he comes in and he walks it off for the AL. Who knows? I'd love to see him play. Xander Bogaerts.
You know what, Sam?
What's up?
Peter, like school, is raising his hand over there.
I just don't want to like completely cut Sam off here, but you brought
cut
up
him
the
off.
Yankees.
Let him know. Let him know you're there,
You brought
Peter.
up the Yankees, right? And you brought up how the AL is usually dominant. I think the Yankees are bringing some sort of big edge for the AL this year. The Yankees have been extremely hot, give or take. And, like you're saying, there's so much raw power on that team. I mean, like, I can mention one name with Aaron Judge, and that's pretty much encapsulates the Yankees' year this year. I mean, they were crushing home run after home run after home run. So, talking in this All-Star game and the Yankees, man. Yikes.
The Yankees.
There's a lot of power for this AL team, especially when you
There
said
is. There
Aaron Judge.
truly is.
Giancarlo Stanton also takes that other outfield spot. They're probably going to be on the corners there and right and left field, and they're going to bring. They got the hot bats. They're going to bring the power. Like I said, Jose Trevino, a couple of Yankees guys on this team. So we'll see. Well, they're going to be here and they're going to be ready to bring the power. Well, if we go to the NL starters, this is actually kind of a surprise here. We have Wilson Contreras and we have his brother. We have his brother here, William Contreras. This is kind of the first. I think I was reading something earlier. This is the first time that two brothers will be starting side by side on an All-Star team. Unfortunately, Bryce Harper did win the vote for the DH spot. However, he's dealing with a fractured thumb after being hit by a 97-mile-per-hour fastball by Blake Snell
Freaking
a
pitchers,
week.
bro. It's all the time.
Jake, how long was that? Was that like a week ago? Week and a half?
I think it was two weeks ago.
Yeah, which is very unfortunate. We're hoping to see, as Phillies fans, we hope to see him back at some point soon. Hopefully in late August, early September. But
he has
then,
declared he will be back.
He said
so.
He has declared it. He declared it.
So we'll see how William Contreras here. He was in the second spot voting. I mean, Bryce Harper had that wrapped up pretty tightly there, but William Contreras was in the second spot for voting. Obviously, he's going to get it. He's had some power this year, too. I mean, in his first, 3 games or so, he had, a couple home runs, I know. And so right off the bat, he was getting high. And I've liked how he's played, definitely coming up. His brother, Wilson Contreras, obviously has been a big bat for the Chicago Cubs for many years, too. So it'll be nice to see the brothers kind of slugging it out there for the NL
Yeah, and
starters.
I know that they have, I saw the meeting that they had when the Cubs played the Braves the other week at home play. That's just great when you're able to share that experience with a sibling, or of course, the big story with the Griffeys back in the day, the father son kind of thing. That's just great, and having sports to be able to do that, and brothers playing together and competing together on the same team finally get to do it in the Midsummer Classic.
It's awesome in all sports to see that, family just meet, you see it all the time in the NFL, the brothers are battling out and they're fighting each other in the game, but at the end of the game, they're family again, and I think that's amazing, with the baseball, they're finally getting to the opportunity to play as a unit together, undoubtedly when they were little, they were playing baseball together in the backyard, so, it's kind of like that, hey, we get to bring back these memories from when we were little, which is pretty awesome. I like how sports can do that.
Oh, definitely, yeah. For the NL, we still got a couple more guys. Jazz Chisholm and Trey Turner. Jazz Chisholm, a young player, was a rookie last year. He's definitely bursting on the scene for that Marlins team. Keeping them hot, not keeping them active, not too. Obviously, the Marlins struggling a little bit, but Jazz Chisholm is one of those bright spots on that team.
Gotta like Jazz. You gotta like Jazz. You like Jazz?
Like Jazz.
I like Jazz. I like when Jazz does the Euro step into the home plate there.
Oh man, that's so smooth. And you got all the old heads chirping about it. I love it. He plays with so much swag.
It's a new
so
game,
awesome.
dude. It's a new era. It's a new game. Paul Goldschmidt has been on fire for this Cardinals team. Obviously, the Phillies are playing them right now. He had off today. Albert Pujols was in there, but Paul Goldschmidt has been on fire. I think he's batting in the 340s. His OPS.
He's my MVP so far in the National League. What he's doing with that Cardinals team in the middle of that order, like you mentioned, Sam, the high average, but not only that, the OPS. He's walking. He's getting on base. He's scoring runs, playing his usual phenomenal first base defense, doing it all for that team offensively that's really struggled around him to start.
Some of those guys, like Nolan Arenado, has done really well for that team, but the top 4 guys in the lineup today, obviously the Cardinals won, unfortunately, against the Phillies, but for that lineup, it was the top 4 guys were batting above 200, and then the bottom 6 weren't even batting close to, we're like 50, 30 points away from 200. So, I mean, for the offense that's struggling right now, to have him creating that offense and making those plays, perfect for that team. All right, if we look at the National League reserves here, a couple more. Nolan Arenado is on that National League reserve team. I mean, like we were just talking about Paul Goldschmidt here. Nolan Arenado is also keeping that Cardinals offense alive here. Pete Alonso, Jeff McNeil, both representing the Mets. I mean, that Mets team's been leading the division
Phenomenal.
for a long time, unfortunately, and those two have been keeping it. They've been keeping that Mets team perfectly in first. CJ Cron for the Rockies, he was leading the NL in home runs for a little bit, but now Kyle Schwarber is recently the new Phillies representative for the All-Star team. He's now leading with 28 home runs, if I'm correct, which is a lot before the All-Star game.
That's nuts. You know what? And here's the thing. He deserves it, too. That man has been crushing homers all through the month of June. I'm ready for all through the month of July. You know what? He's living up to his name, and his bat is hot. So
it's June 40th. It's June 40th. He keeps hitting home runs. Yeah, Kyle Schwarber, Schwartz. Yeah, he had to be in there, and he should be in the home run derby if they didn't announce the. I don't know if
just about to say he belongs in the home run derby.
Okay. Well, he should be in that. He should be in that.
I would say he should.
And you know what? I would go as far to say he'd be a contender for one of the top finishing spots because he's got the power.
Peter with the takes, the take man
Definitely.
tonight. Peter.
I mean, Kyle Schwarber in the beginning of the season was not hitting very well, under 200. He's risen his average to around 220. Still has some improvement to go, but I mean, with the league leading 28 home runs.
Yeah, he hasn't been the average guy though. You look at his OPS, you look at his on base. He is one of the leaders in the league in walks, home runs.
It's kind of like a Joey Gallo type guy. I mean, you want to see him hit that home run, especially in that leadoff spot. He's been excellent so far in that leadoff spot, He's
been killing it. You want to talk about a man who's new to the Phillies and stepping up? You got him, Kyle Schwarber.
Then we also got guys. Starling Marte's been really good for that Mets team, another representative for them. Juan Soto. Ian Happ for the Cubs representing them is a really nice. He's kind of been up and down in the past couple seasons, but he's really picked it up as well, and it's nice to see him.
Guy to keep an eye on with the trade deadline coming up. He's a guy that I think many teams, especially with the Cubs being where they're at, could look to upgrade center field. He also has experience playing second, third, bat that can bat from both sides, speed too. Guy that many teams could want, many contending teams.
He's a versatile player. You know, he's one of those guys that can do it all, as they say.
If we look at the American League pitchers, all the pitchers were announced too. Shane McClanahan and Nestor Cortez are the first two that pop up right here. They have been phenomenal pitchers. Two guys who could be up for the AL Cy Young, especially Nestor Cortez with the season he's had. Shane McClanahan was a rookie last season. He's bursted onto the scene. You should see. I like watching Shane McClanahan pitch, or I've seen highlights of him. He throws the ball hard. And he has nice off-speed stuff as well that keeps guys. It keeps them off balance, that's for sure. Alek Manoah, Framber Valdez are a couple guys. Paul Blackburn for the Athletics is another guy. I wouldn't have expected Paul Blackburn to be an all-star, but he's really picked it up for that Athletics team that's been struggling this season. Got guys Verlander, Cole. Ohtani is listed as an American League pitcher. Again, don't know if we'll really see him pitch that much. For some relievers, Clay Holmes for that Yankees team. I remember when he was a Pirate, kind of just like in the back there. But with the Aroldis Chapman being hurt recently, he came in and he dominated in that closing spot there and really helped secure some wins. Emmanuel Class, I'm not sure if I'm saying
Class A, yeah, I think so.
Gregory Soto for the Tigers and Jorge Lopez for the Orioles.
Jorge Lopez, that's I think the one that catches my eye the most, the Orioles. Lopez has been phenomenal out of the pen. The Orioles, of course, as a whole on the winning streak, was it 8 games now?
I believe it's 8.
One game under 500, playing very well. And yeah, Lopez has been a key part. Their offense is scoring more runs, but again, I think the pitching has been the most impressive so far.
You know what, Sam? I don't even want to talk about National League pitchers. Let's not. I'm bitter, bro. I am so bitter.
As Phillies fans, we're a little bitter, but we'll go over them. We have Clayton Kershaw. Sandy Alcantara has been amazing for this Marlins team.
Cy Young, man. He's my Cy Young pick right now.
I definitely think he's in the lead for that Cy Young. He's bursting on the scene. He's been in the league. He struggled with this Marlins team like his first few seasons. He's always been a dominant pitcher. Just the win record and the ERA may not have reflected it in his early days, but right now he is on top of the world here, and I'd love to see. I would say he will win the Cy Young.
It's a
If
shame
he
he's on the
continues
Marlins
this after
then,
the
isn't
All
it?
Star break.
Well, I mean, you gotta. He has the killer instinct, man. I've seen these videos. He's barking in the dugout. He's like, I want the ball. I want the effing ball, man. And he wants it. And he wants it. And that's great to see out of a starting pitcher going 8, 9 innings, throwing 100 pitches. He wants the ball on the mound, and that's why he's having so much success. And that's why, as you mentioned, Sammy's probably leading the case to the Cy Young. He's a foundational piece for that team.
In the words of Dwayne The Rock Johnson, it's about drive, it's about power.
We also got Corbin Burns. Luis Castillo is an interesting one to see. I would have liked to see Zach Wheeler in that spot instead of Luis Castillo.
Yeah,
That's
let's just undermine Zach Wheeler,
Hey,
who's
future Philly
him.
making it in over a current one, it's fine. Future Philly making it in over a current one, that's fine by me. Fine by me.
We got Max Fried. Tony Gonsolin's also been another guy who's in the Cy Young talk. He's been really dominant. He's been more dominant than Clayton Kershaw and some of these other Dodgers pitchers. I think he was leading the NL in ERA if I'm correct. But he's been really dominant. Joe Musgrove's been another dominant pitcher for the Padres, really bolstering that rotation there. We have a couple relievers in Edwin Diaz, Josh Hader. He's been a dominant pitcher for the Brewers, coming out of that bullpen in the closing spot. Ryan Heasley for the Cardinals. This guy throws gas for sure, throwing 100 miles per hour with that fastball. David Bednar and Mantiply are rounding that out. We got a nice solid roster here, Jake, for both teams. I want to make a prediction. Who do you think is going to win this one?
You know what? The dominance ends now. National League comes out on top.
Really?
6-5.
Wow.
6-5 in LA. Yes.
All right.
I'm going to go with the American League again. I'm going with the American League, and I'm going to say 5-3. 5-3 AL.
I want the runs. Let's get the runs. Fans
seeing
love
that.
the runs. Long ball.
what?
Do it too.
I'm a big fan of rooting for upsets, underdogs. Let's go National League. Let's go. You know what? I like Jake 6-5, but I don't want to be a copycat, so I'm gonna say 5-4. I'm gonna take a point away from each team. 5-4. I like seeing home runs and stuff like that, but with competition, where it's the best of the best playing the best of the best, you know that it may or may not be a slugfest because you got really good defensemen, really good pitchers, and at the same time you got really good hitters on the other side of things. So let's say 5-4 National League. The only time I'll ever root for a team that the Mets are on.
When it's the entire league. What a great logic.
The only time you'll find me rooting for the Mets is when they're encapsulated by the entire National League.
One more thing. We got some legacy people, too. We got Albert Pujols for the NL, and we also have Miguel Cabrera for the AL. Those are especially picked by the MLB commissioner, I believe. They have been, just because of their long time standing in the MLB and with their last seasons coming up, at least for Albert Pujols, this will be his last season, I believe.
Yeah, well deserved. I think it's great, and I know we're not going to. I see Justin over there getting a bit anxious on his spot, but just wanted to mention I did see something with Buck Showalter about possibly instituting a utility position in the All-Star game. In the future, I know that was discussed, of course, not by the higher ups, but. Something to consider, like a Chris Taylor, Scott Kingery, what we imagine Scott Kingery to be, that kind of utility position, guys that play, Matt Veerling, but possibly something that institute as well, looking at, Pujols, Cabrera, the additions later on. Well, thank you, Sam, for your insight. We'll keep track on those scores for the Midsummer Classic, which one holds true as we enter the second half of the Major League Baseball season. Breaking news in the NFL. A progressive commercial icon and also quarterback as well, Baker Mayfield, is on the move. Justin, where is he going? And what was he traded it for? Because in my opinion, a bag of chips and a few pens there.
Oh, that would have been an improvement, Jacob. I'm telling you.
Wow.
Well, Justin, take it away. Take it away after that back and forth.
The Cleveland Browns, they traded Baker Mayfield, their quarterback, the first overall pick in the 2018 draft, to the Carolina Panthers for a single...
Let him do a playoff win. You want him a playoff
I know.
game.
He got them to the playoffs first time in, 18
20 years? Had to be, 18, 20 years.
Yeah, and they traded him to the Carolina Panthers for a conditional 4th or 5th round pick for not this year's draft, not the next year's draft, but the following 2024 NFL draft.
Piggybacking off what you said, they have to wait 2-ish years until they get to pick a rando from the 4th or 5th round for Baker Mayfield. Now, I understand, and Nate's going to probably talk about this a little bit. Baker Mayfield isn't a top-tier player. We get it.
Can we focus on you calling the rando the...
No one knows who's gonna be.
You don't even know who's going to be, Peter, and you're already
It
disrespecting.
could be somebody good. It could be somebody
know,
good.
really
But 4th or
So
5th
I
round
apologize.
is not where you find stars
Hey,
most
that's
of the
where the
time.
front office shines, Justin.
Yeah, that's where Bill
And the
Belichick
Cleveland
picks
Browns have
off his
clearly
players.
shown not to be a great front office with
Well, I'm
this
not
2
denying
years from
that.
now,
but
you know
maybe
what?
it'll
You
turn
know what?
around.
All right.
Who knows?
All right. 2 years from now, we could look back on this and let's just say, I apologize to the person who's drafted in the spot of Baker Mayfield's conditional round pick. I wish you the best. But anyway, restarting.
Well, I mean, the Panthers might not have been any better, but yeah, go on. Peter.
True. But Baker Mayfield isn't an Aaron Rodgers. He isn't a Patrick Mahomes. He's not a Josh Allen. We get it. He's a maybe.
He's mid.
Maybe.
He's mid. Just say
mid.
it. He's mid.
He's mid. He's mid. He's mid. But here's the thing. The Browns, in my opinion, shot themselves in the foot. You honestly don't know what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson. And in my personal opinion, not to go on a soapbox, but if you don't give Deshaun Watson more than a 6 to even 10 game suspension, that looks very bad on the front office. Because you're giving guys like Calvin Ridley, who bet $1,000 on games, a full year suspension, but a man who has been accused of doing very horrendous things during his personal time and to other people 24 times. You cannot tell me that's not worth at least a 6 to 10 game suspension, or in my opinion, it should be a full year.
Yeah, that's the thing I wanted to bring up. Yeah, I wanted to just bring that up because they might not have a quarterback next season.
Yeah,
you know,
that's what I'm saying.
Just looking at their depth chart, you know, you have Deshaun Watson, Jacoby Brissett, and Joshua Dobbs. I mean, Jacoby Brissett, he's okay.
They must have,
they
must have trust in him to get it done. That's my opinion.
And as the Browns, you just shot yourself in the foot. You made an impulsive decision. Sure, Baker wasn't the answer for a starter. I get it. Deshaun is better. I get it when he's actually got some time on the field. But you can't just go ahead and trade away your only guarantee of a quarterback for the season before you know what's going to happen to your other guarantee. That's just my point of view on it.
I feel like you're missing the big point here. Baker Mayfield didn't want to stay with the Browns. They had to move him. He didn't want to be there, Peter, so the Browns had to move him. They couldn't hold on to him. He didn't want to play. He didn't want to play.
And the longer and longer it drew on, the less and less they were going to get for it.
It's not necessarily a good trade from their standpoint, considering, he was their first overall pick a few years ago, but still.
Yeah, but he's not going to play because he's going to be kept second fiddle and be a
at the same time
guy.
If they were going to do this, they should have done it when they made the decision to get Deshaun Watson. They should have made the move right there to be like, okay, we're going to get rid of Baker. But they waited too long, and
they had to find somebody to move him to, though, Justin.
They get basically nothing for a decent player.
Easily the Panthers. I think that the Panthers would have accepted that trade a while ago.
Great trade for the Panthers. I'm not denying
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
It's an upgrade.
On
and
the
in
other
my
side,
opinion,
on the other side over there,
upgrade.
the Panthers, their quarterback room is really improved now. They used to have Sam Darnold, Matt Corral, P.J. Walker. Now they have Baker Mayfield in there. So you can imagine they're probably not going to hold on to Sam Darnold for much longer, maybe a month or so.
The ultimate hype man.
Now,
I don't know about that, Justin.
Well, what's the point of having two people getting paid a quarterback salary on your team?
Although I think that Sam Darnold is a pretty viable backup quarterback. I think that, sure he wants to start. Sure, every quarterback in the league wants to start. But I think that Baker Mayfield is an improvement from Sam Darnold. Although
at the end
not
of the day,
too
though,
much.
it's all about cap space because they're both taking up a similar amount of cap space. So you're going to have to probably move one of them in order to keep your team in a good spot. So it's probably going to be Sam Darnold that they're going to get rid of.
You know what? They should have honestly pulled a Detroit LA where they just swap quarterbacks. Here, you can have Darnold. We'll take Baker. That, you know what? That would have solved Cleveland's QB
But then you're
problem.
still paying a lot of money for Darnold when, you got Deshaun Watson over here that you're paying through the nose.
And also, I'd rather have Jacoby Brissett than Sam Darnold right now. Yes, I said that. Yes. The thing with Cleveland is they have the peripheral talent of running backs, wide receivers, and the like. Yeah. It's just, Baker
probably
struggled offensive scheme. Who knows? Yeah, really.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Is Kareem Hunt a free agent this year, or is that not so?
Might be. I don't know.
As far as I know,
because I think I saw something on ESPN about it. But he's still there, yeah.
So
I think something wanted to mention too, and Justin mentioned the quarterback room. Matt Corral, they drafted him in this past year's draft. What does that mean for him in terms of his development? You have now these two guys, struggling veteran now, kind of both guys heading towards that. I don't want to say journeyman yet, but still struggling to find their identity. You've got Baker, who had his phenomenal season. Sam Darnold, who hasn't even really unleashed that. You've got Corral, this rookie, who could be the future of the team. Like, where do you go from there? Is he that kind of backup or is Baker the guy, and you're just kind of telling him, okay, you're this expendable backup kind of
for
thing.
Carolina, this could be a year where they take three quarterbacks on their roster. I'm not saying it's going to be Darnold, but I just know that this is probably a season where they say, okay, we're going to have three because we're going to be cautious. We want to keep our rookie, but at the same time, we also want to have a backup, a good backup that can win us some games in case we're, in the mix, and then a starter and, just have him play those
because
games.
Look at the division they're in right now. I mean, it's really not that strong. Not like it used to be. The Falcons lost Matt Ryan. They picked up Marcus Mariota as his replacement. Obviously, if Tom Brady...
They could easily find a way to get into the second spot in that division. Look at a wild card.
Because the Saints, it's not looked that nice since Drew Brees. I mean, who knows what James Winston's going to be like coming back off of injury this year. So, it's hard to tell.
You know what, though? It's interesting because two things that were kind of brought to my attention as you guys were talking. The Saints did pick up Tyrann Mathieu, which is huge for that defense. And did Jarvis Landry go to the Saints? Or is that just... So Jarvis Landry is a pretty decent wide receiver upgrade for that offense. Another thing that was kind of triggered in my mind is what Justin said about this new quarterback. Here's the thing. Although it's not great mentorship, I could see them keeping the three quarterbacks because having somebody with experience, we'll put it that way, having somebody with experience like Baker Mayfield, who did go to the playoffs, so I'm not going to make him seem like he's a terrible quarterback. Sure, he's mid, but he's still got veteran experience. He's got veteran experience he could pass on to the rookies. And, as decent as Sam Darnold is, I guess he could provide a little bit of insight on being newer to the game, and just having experience. I can see how Justin's prediction of having a three quarterback room isn't too far of a spit away, but I also think that the mention of worrying about cap space that Justin brought up too is a concern. But either way, I think that you keep Baker as your starter, your primary starter, and you just go from there. You have the veterans teach Matt Corral, right? You have them teach him, kind of show him the ropes, and I guess you go from there, but I think that a 3 QB room wouldn't be too far from accurate this year.
I would like to bring this up real quick because you guys are all so quick to jump to saying that Baker is their for sure starter. And whilst I agree, he's better than Sam Darnold, I'm not going to go out there as of right now and say that Carolina is going to start him week 1 over Sam Darnold. Purely because
did
new.
say quarterback competition.
I think it's a quarterback competition. Baker's just coming into this team. It's new. It's a new team, a new system. They just have to learn.
After a rough season.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sam's been there. They saw what he had last year. I think the team overall is a little better going into this year. And, I think that they might start Sam Darnold when it comes week 1. As of right now, again, I don't know, but I'm not so sure that Baker is a surefire starter come week 1 like you guys are.
No, I can see QB competition.
I think it's a competition.
I can see QB competition, but you gotta feel for these receivers, man. They can never know who their quarterback's going to be. Poor Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore. One week is Sam Darnold, the next week is Cam Newton, now it's going to be Baker Mayfield. Like they're all over the place. They can't stick with one quarterback, and I kind of feel for these these talent. Like Robbie Anderson is a good receiver when it comes down to it, along with DJ Moore, and these guys just want a reliable quarterback to throw them the ball. And I feel for this wide receiver room, it's got to be tough trying to learn each different quarterback's kind of way of playing. Like Cam Newton certainly has a different style of playing than Sam Darnold did.
It's called running the ball.
Exactly. And I'm sure that Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield,
and
I'm sure that Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield have a different style of play, although more similar than Sam Darnold and Cam. But still, I feel for these receivers on how difficult it might be to transition once again.
They could just end up rolling with both those guys during the season and, see how they each play. And come the end of the season, next off season, they, based on this year, they decide, all right, this is the guy we want to keep and hang on to, and this guy we're going to let, as Jake put it, he becomes kind of the journeyman,
Yeah, that's not a bad idea there, Nate.
Because, like you said,
it looks like the Eagles aren't the only team with a quarterback factory, I guess. Eagles aren't the only team. Panthers know what's up. Well, thanks, Justin, again, for your insight. We'll monitor the situation for both teams, how it plays out. And, we have one last topic of the day, college football. While in the off season, while recruits are going left, right, and center across the country, big news out of, I guess you could say, the Pac-12 going to the Big Ten. UCLA and USC have plans to join the Big Ten. Nate, of course, correct me if I'm wrong. The 2024 season, they will be joining the Big Ten officially. This is, among a slew of other, decisions, teams moving from, personally, teams in the American Athletic Conference to the Big 12. Guys, our reactions to the movement, not only, I guess, for these two teams specifically, but what it means for college football as a whole.
I gotta ask Nate, and I don't want to be rude to Justin, but he doesn't really follow college football as much as Nate does. Nate, going to Penn State, being a Big Ten school, how do you feel about this? And of course, I know Justin goes there as well, but you being more on the college football train, what are your thoughts on this? Like, what are you feeling as a Penn State fan, as a Big Ten follower, I should say?
By the way, I'm deeply hurt that you did not say me.
I'm so sorry,
offended.
Justin.
Justin is offended by your decision.
And you too, Justin.
Don't worry, we're going to get Justin acquainted this upcoming football season. He's going to be at every home game with the boys, so he'll be ready. But how do I feel about it? It's interesting. From competition standpoint, it's great. I mean, you're adding two programs that are two of probably the best in the Pac-12 has to offer. You're adding them to the Big Ten. It's great competition-wise. USC just probably got the hire of the year. They got Lincoln Riley to flip from Oklahoma to USC. That's going to be great for recruiting for them. So, having them join the Big Ten with him especially, competition is going to be great. But it does also, raise some issues. USC and UCLA are both West Coast LA schools. whereas you have most of the Big Ten teams here Eastern Standard Time or, in the Midwest. So travel for these athletes, you're going to have long, I'm sure you're going to have some layovers, you're going to have jet lag from certain places. Imagine having to go from Rutgers to, UCLA to play a football game.
Middle of the week, like
Thursday,
Friday night game.
Friday night game, that's going to be rough for those players.
That's a weekend of travel there.
As a student perspective, that's going to be really tough.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's not like the NFL where it's their job, like these players, they have responsibilities. They're student athletes. They're students before they're athletes, so that's going to be tough.
Yeah, exactly. So
then the schools are going to have to definitely adjust to that, too. The schools are, I know, sometimes these student athletes do, a different program where, their days are, aligned with where they can do practice and whatever. It's now going to have to take an adjustment for their schooling to, fly to L.A. or fly to University of Southern California, all these teams that are, and even the kids who are in Los Angeles or California are going to have to come on over and change their schedules. So I think that, like Justin said, it's going to be tough on them academically, too.
Yeah, I think overall that's the biggest downside of the whole, transition for them. But it's been approved already. It's going to happen, as Jake said, in 2024. And as college football as a whole, what I feel like this means, really, to me, it looks like we're heading towards, I hate to say it, but two mega super conferences in the SEC.
That's what I wanted to ask you, Nate, because when I was looking at I looked at this a little bit. I was like, this doesn't.
Oh, you did your research, Sam. Is that what
I'm
doing?
I read an article.
Doesn't do it for himself, but he does it for us.
I was like, this doesn't make too much sense to me. Like, why this is happening? And like you said, that is the possibility that two big kind of divisions in college football are kind of gonna arise from this.
Yeah, because look, what triggered this all, you can easily go back to, is Texas and Oklahoma leaving the Big 12 and going to the SEC, and I believe it's going to happen in 2025. So you can see that triggered a whole slew of things, which includes, the American Conference,
Cincinnati, Houston, and I think it's UCF going to the Big 12.
Exactly.
Yes.
So those departures obviously affected, the American. It's going to affect the smaller conferences. Eventually, you're going to get to the point where, big schools are going to just move, I think, to these conferences, Big Ten, SEC, because they want to compete. They want to get to the playoff. And you only got 4 spots right now. And the way I look at it, it's going to be, if you don't play in the Big Ten or the SEC, your schedule's not going to be hard enough.
No shot.
Yeah, you really don't have a shot at making that playoff unless it's expanded, which, as of right now, that has not happened. So I think overall...
So what you're saying is it's a result of the playoff. It's the playoff structure and fault of 4 teams has really trickled down to this conference
I think
mess.
It's contributed, Jake. I really do.
Yeah,
just look at it.
I agree. Yeah, I think the facts are there.
Can you see the 2 big leagues being the Big Ten and the SEC?
Well, yeah, because...
I think you'd have to say so. I mean, you look at the ACC... Kind of with Clemson, but Clemson, there's conversations of them moving on. Got Notre Dame as that always
who knows what
team where they've never claimed a conference. Yeah, so it's like they're not really a competition if you look at the talent-wise, stack by stack now. I mean, Pac-12, as much as Oregon has been good, Washington has been good in years, USC, those 2 teams moving on. I mean, they, been there as well, but they haven't made it to this.
As a fellow Oregon fan, it hurts them from a competition perspective, and there's even been rumors floated around now that Washington and Oregon are going to look to leave. They're going to look to leave, so they might look to join the Big Ten. I as well. I see that probably more likely than the SEC, but I get the joke there. To spite USC and UCLA, go to the SEC. But it's crazy, man, and this doesn't just affect football, guys. This is all college sports,
I was gonna say this definitely has to affect other college sports like basketball,
midweek soccer games, basketball.
And what's interesting now about the basketball thing is the NCAA March Madness tournament. Teams from all around. You got Clemson, you got sometimes Penn State, you got teams like Kansas and all that. does it? I don't know. I mean, this could be a conversation for later.
USC Trojans coming out of the East region.
Exactly. Does it change March Madness? Does it change like baseball rotate? It changes everything, and just some other thing to think about. And maybe you would have to make the two divisions if it were to be a 2-division college football, whatever college sport thing. If it were to be a 2-division thing, you would have to even out the number of teams. Like, there would have to be equal number of teams.
All about keeping it even with Mr. Almirante over there. Gotta keep it even.
But it's true. It's true. You can't have like 16 teams on the SEC. And
well, I mean, we're scheduling and stuff. They can work it out.
And it's no longer even the Big 10.
Since the divisions
are
not
16 at this point. I mean,
yeah, really.
But it's what it looks like. Nobody's going and saying, "Oh, there's definitely 2 big super leagues." No, that's just from every fan's perspective.
Future thought.
You're looking at it. That's what you sense is coming in. I think at this rate, there's no stopping it. Basically, it's already begun.
The history of sports is changing in front of our eyes, boys.
It's already begun.
It's changing in front of our eyes.
And I think I want to point this. I think it really is going to delegitimize bowl games. I think it's going to affect the bowl season.
Sure.
I mean, look, the Rose Bowl has traditionally been played between the winners of the Pac-12 and the Big Ten. You got teams from the Pac-12 joining the Big Ten. So, I mean, come on.
Big Ten versus Big Ten Rose Bowl?
Yeah, exactly. So it's just a move that really comes down to, I think, teams want to be playoff eligible. They want to make that push. They see other teams moving. You have to move if you want the chance to make it, basically, for those big schools. And don't forget, money's also always important in these things, so...
Oh my God.
They're going to follow the money, buddy. They're going to follow the money.
Always, it's all... No matter what, at the end of the day, it's all about the money.
Well, that will do it for today's episode of the Lunch Hour Sports Podcast. Thank you for listening, and thank you, Anchor, for again sponsoring this episode of the Lunch Hour Sports Podcast. For future episodes, follow us on YouTube and on Spotify. All of our episodes are over there. Once again, thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.